What's up, beautiful people? Thank you for joining me once again. This is the Light, Heart, and Center channel where we try to help you find your center and stay centered, as well as find the light in you, the eternal spark, so that you can find enlightenment or have your spiritual awakening as well. Once you uncover your divine source, your divine essence that lies at the core of your being, then you can begin to master it and bring it into the body. Once you master yourself, then you can begin to manifest the life you deserve, the life you always wanted and you know deep down that you deserve to be abundant, and not necessarily abundant in meaning that you have millions and millions of dollars, but just abundant in having all the things that you need, that you truly need. We will get more into self mastery and manifestation, but first we have to talk about enlightenment and how to get there, how to find and discover your true self, the ethereal you, the real you. So before we get into all that, we got to start this journey from square one, and that's where my journey began. So I'll tell you about my spiritual awakening and how I got there. It was 10 years ago, and I was miserable, more miserable than I've ever been in the career that I was working. And not because I didn't like the job, but because the people I worked with were really shitty people, and they abused me physically and verbally. They made fun of me and called me names, and I took the abuse. I'm pretty tough and I'm pretty resilient, but things do affect you no matter who you are, no matter how enlightened you are, and I definitely wasn't enlightened then. But things will still get to you. It's about learning how to meet those things with grace and change your perspective of it. But anyways, it was destroying my spirit, and I knew I had to do something. I had to get out of there because I was miserable. And there's no reason you should stay in a toxic situation if it's destroying your spirit, most of all. So, my mother, she noticed I was miserable, so she offered to take me to Mexico for 3 months so I could figure myself out and figure out what I wanted to do with my life. When we went to Mexico, I actually fell in love. And this story is not about her at all, but falling in love sparked my journey because I suddenly had an interest in life, and I was suddenly taking an interest in life and questioning my reality and my total existence and the choices I've made and everything. I started questioning everything. I even made a podcast right after my awakening. Sorry, not a podcast, a blog called Rethink It All and Question Everything. The more I looked for answers, the more questions arose. And I just kept going down this rabbit hole, and I kept hearing people saying two opposing things, and I kept hearing it a lot being said in different ways, but the same thing, the same two things. First of all, people were saying this is the most exciting time to be alive right now. And second of all, they were saying that this is the end of times, the end of days, and the world is ending. Two very contradicting things, but somehow both of them felt true, and I needed to figure out why. So I went down even more rabbit holes and more rabbit holes, and I kept coming back to this one thing, the Emerald Tablet. I must have read it nearly 100 times. By the time I had left Mexico after those 3 months and spent a few months living at my brother's in California, where I decided to move, I was previously living in Texas at that career I was miserable at. So I packed up everything, moved to California, where most of my family was anyways, and where I felt at home. I love California. I've always felt at home here. But even after I was at my brother's for a few months, I think maybe 5, 6 months before I finally got my own place, I kept reading that tablet, and it kept coming back to me for some reason, and I just had to figure it out. It was like this riddle, this formula for something, and I had to figure it out. Well, after about 100 times or more reading it over and over throughout those months, it finally just clicked to me. The Emerald Tablet was talking about how to reach immortality. Little did I know it was just talking metaphorically about enlightenment and how once you realize the divine spark that lies within you, you become immortal because you realize that that light is immortal and it never dies because it's God. It's part of God's source. It is the God spark within you that makes you who you are. Very unique. It's a key signature vibration that is unique and it's your own. Nobody else can match your vibration. But let's rewind. When it hit me, I still, I didn't know anything about meditation or enlightenment. And I was like, what is immortality? That sounds pretty awesome, right? So I kept doing a little more research and I found out it was actually a formula to create the Philosopher's Stone, which is tailed. Legend says that it can turn lead into gold. This is also metaphorical. So when you reach that enlightenment, your heart turns from lead into gold because you let go of grudges and resentment, and you let go of all those things in order to separate from your body and reach heaven, essentially. So what the Emerald Tablet says is, and it doesn't say it explicitly, it does mention meditation, the meditation of one mind to create things. But the main thing is it says you have to separate heaven from earth and reunite them in a more powerful way. So I took that as, okay, I need to have an out-of-body experience through meditation. And that's the only way I'm going to gain immortality or create the Philosopher's Stone. And then my intention was to create a bunch of gold and pass it out to the less fortunate and throw off the status quo. So as soon as I moved into my new place, my first apartment, I got to work. I started meditating all the hours I had extra after work, before work. I would meditate all I could, and then if I wasn't meditating, I was researching and just absorbing all this information. Within a 2 week span, I learned so much. Like probably the majority of stuff that I know about spirituality, I learned within that 2 week span. And finally left my body thanks to some binaural beats, which is music that plays two different tones in each ear, and it creates a third tone. Your brain creates a third tone from those tones being combined. And what that does is mainly it allows you to focus on something else, and that helped me because I would fall asleep every time I tried to meditate. And listening to the music gave me something to focus on. But it does something else to you. It changes your vibration for sure. So it helped me heal through my chakras because it was a chakra meditation, and it went starting from the root all the way up through each chakra. For over 2 hours was the meditation, and when it stopped, I actually came back to my body, and I felt alive for the very first time ever. And it felt like I had spent my entire life in autopilot, and I wasn't truly living at all. I learned from science that everything is energy. So after the meditation, I understood that on a different level. I felt how we were all energy. So a lot of it was feeling rather than thinking or receiving information in words. It was more of a sensation, just a knowing, a cognizance that this is not all there is. There is more to what we see. There's a reality beyond the flesh and the physical that we can't see, and our eyes only see two-dimensionally. So I believe it. The more and more connections I started to make in the big puzzle of life, I started to really understand things on a deeper level, and the phrase "this is the most exciting time to be alive" finally made sense. And the reason everybody think it's the end of the world, it finally made sense because we're going through a transition right now, a transformation that has to be bred through fire. We have to go through the fire and be refined like gold, like metal. It's a refining process, and you have to constantly be thrown back into the fire. Even after you have an enlightenment or an enlightening experience, you will be thrown back into the fire because there's always something more to heal and grow and learn. And that's what it's all about. Humanity is evolving and waking up. Everybody will have a spiritual awakening eventually, and they will come to know themselves. truly, that's when things will change. That's when things get exciting. Personally, I had to experience betrayal to find true friends and true family that goes beyond blood. I had to have heartbreak to find self worth. I had to experience homelessness to really find my heart and love people, no matter unconditionally, no matter what, even if I don't really like them. I learned unconditional love and true Christ consciousness, and we're going to eventually talk about that too. So, the journey doesn't end with enlightenment, that's just the beginning. Once everyone's gone through this transformation, a new world will be born, new earth, the kingdom of heaven, whatever you want to call it. Get excited because there's only a million things to get excited for and nothing to fear. Nothing to fear at all, my friends. I love you all. Get ready. Master yourself. Find yourself, master yourself, love yourself, be yourself. That's all you got to do. Cheers.